It's summertime, and if you like yourself some fresh clams, sweet, ripe farmer's market cherry tomatoes, and the secret ingredient Nduja, the spicy, spreadable Calabrian salami, then you're gonna love this rendition of Spaghetti Alle Vongole, or spaghetti with clams, that I've been eating all month long and is a spicy, addicting pasta that you're gonna love. I wanna thank Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video, but for now, we've gotta clean some clams. First thing I'm gonna do is like a preliminary wash, get them into a bowl, fill it up with water, rinse them off, get a lot of that preliminary grit off of the clams, and then we're gonna soak them in a little bit of salt water while we make our Nduja breadcrumb. Now here I have about 1 pound or about 30 of these little clams called cockles. They're the perfect clam, even if you don't like clams. They're really small, very sweet and tender, and they're the perfect size for me for a vongole, although you can also use little necks if you need. Then we're gonna rinse them off. You can see all the grit just initially in this first rinse. Then we're gonna rinse that out, get them back into the water, just give them a nice rub. And then all we're gonna do is add a bit of salt to them to create a saltwater environment, and then hopefully they open up a bit and clean out any more grit that's gonna be inside. Now, Nduja, that word, that's pronounced Nduja. And it's a cured, fermented, soft, spicy Calabrian salami that is filled with Calabrian chilies and is spreadable despite being cured and aged because it has a really high amount of fat. It's a really great ingredient because it's so spreadable. It sort of melts into sauces, which is one of the ways we're gonna use it today. The other way we're gonna do it is frying it up with some breadcrumbs to make a spicy Nduja breadcrumb that's gonna go on top, which we're gonna make right now. Oh, look, the clams are talking. The salt's opening them up. Can you hear it? Don't overcook me, bro. I just heard something. Oh, this guy's opening here. It's a good sign that they're nice and fresh. So I need to measure out 2 amounts of the Nduja. We need about 4 ounces for the sauce and about 2 ounces for the breadcrumbs. Now, just a disclaimer, this is quite spicy. And if you don't love spicy or you can't handle it, either dial the amount down or maybe this recipe isn't for you. But if you love spicy, then you're gonna love this ingredient and probably use it all the time. And for the sauce, we just need about 3 to 4 ounces. So I'm gonna set that off to the side for later. For now, I'm gonna use the 2 ounces for the breadcrumbs. I'm just gonna use some homemade breadcrumbs, some fine stuff, and I'm just gonna use about 1/4 cup. Also just a little bit of parsley. I'm gonna need some parsley for later, so I'm just gonna chop up a bunch right now and just have it on hand. So let's just head on over to the stove. So I got a nonstick pan. I'm gonna get it on to about medium-high heat. I'm gonna add just a little bit of oil to get it going, and then I'm gonna add the Nduja. And I'm gonna treat it just like a sausage. I'm gonna break it up. I'm gonna try and get that fat rendered out so that there's little bits of meat that remain that I can then get crispy. And then once that fat has rendered out and the meat is starting to slightly brown, then we're gonna add those breadcrumbs in, and they're gonna soak up all of that fat and then allow the breadcrumbs to crisp up. And then we're just gonna cook that, tossing it, moving it occasionally, maybe lowering the heat down slightly so we don't burn anything, and we're just gonna cook them until they change color a little bit. I also got a pot of water for when I need to cook the pasta later, and we're just gonna watch a transformation in color of the breadcrumbs, and once they darken and get crispy, then we can get them out of the pan and drain on some paper towel. Nice and crispy, beautiful little breadcrumbs. They need to just dry out a little bit. We're gonna set that off to the side for later. So now I'm just gonna cut up about 3 cloves of garlic sliced. And then I got this 1/2 pint of these beautiful farmer's market fresh cherry tomatoes, which are really sweet. And that sweetness is gonna go a long way in balancing out the spiciness of the Nduja. We're just gonna split those in half. Then I'm gonna pick some basil for a little freshness and reserve the stems. I'm gonna cook those with the garlic. And then just cut a cheek off a lemon. So now we're done soaking our clams. As you can see, they're alive, they opened, they're in their natural habitat, so they got comfortable, and they should have purged any further grit that they might have been holding inside the clam. Whoops. We're gonna wash these off one more time. I lost the footage for this segment, but just rinse them and scrub with your fingers until they feel nice and clean. So now we've got sort of all of our main ingredients ready to start the sauce. But before we start the sauce, I need to save your sleep thanks to our sponsor today, Helix Sleep. You see, sleep is complicated for me. I sleep hot, I have back and neck problems, and I often wake up with these tension headaches that ruin my day. So for me, investing in the right mattress can save me a lot of pain, quite literally, and that's why I sleep on Helix mattress. Helix Sleep Sleep makes premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your needs and are shipped right to your door. Helix knows everybody's sleeping needs are unique, so they made a sleep quiz to match your unique body type and sleep preferences to make the perfect mattress for you. Like I said, I sleep hot. I like a medium firm mattress, and I sleep alone probably because I'm a real head case when I sleep. Based on my results, Helix matched me with the Helix Midnight Luxe with the Glacio Tex cooling cover. And let me tell you, I've been sleeping on this thing for about a month now, and I found that I've been sleeping deeper, and best of all, I haven't been waking up with back pain, neck pain, and no headaches to be found, which is a godsend. It comes delivered right to your door for free within the US, and it comes rolled up in a box, and it's so easy to set up. I was able to do it while I was sick one weekend in just a few minutes. With Helix Sleep, you get a 100-night sleep trial plus a 10-year warranty, all available with financing options and flexible payment plans. So go check out Helix Sleep down in the description with the link helixsleep.com/NACS to get $200 off your Helix Sleep mattress plus 2 free pillows. What a deal. Head on down to the link. Now let's head on over to the stove and wrap this thing up strong. So I'm gonna get this saucier, my favorite pasta pan, onto the stove around medium-high heat, and we're gonna cook this just like we did with the breadcrumbs. A little bit of oil on the pan, and once it's hot, we're gonna get the Nduja into the pan and break it up. We don't need to really crisp it up too much, but once that's broken up and it's starting to render a lot of its fat, we're gonna add in the basil stem and the garlic, and we're gonna infuse that fat that is already flavorful and a little bit of smokiness into it with that garlic and basil flavor. And once we cook that for a minute and we've gotten a little bit of browning happening and roastiness to the garlic that you can clearly smell, then we're gonna add in those cherry tomatoes. Gonna hit it with just a little bit of salt. We're gonna be really light on the salt because the Nduja and the clams are salty. And once they've softened, I want to turn the heat off, then deglaze with a little bit of that wine, maybe a cup or two. I'm using some Pinot Grigio. Get the heat back on, add the clams, get them tossed into the sauce, and then hit them with a cover. And these are small clams, so they're gonna cook maybe 2 or 3 minutes. We're gonna lower the heat down to medium, cook them nice and gently. I'm gonna hit a little bit of salt into that pasta water, bring it up to a boil, and then after a minute or two of steaming, those clams are gonna start to open up. And so we're gonna check, and we're gonna see if any opened up, and if they did, we're gonna pull them out into a strainer with a little bowl catching all the liquor. And if any are still left closed, put the lid back on, let them steam. As you see them open, pull them out. You can pull those basil stems out now as well. And once all the clams have opened and they're removed from the sauce, we can shuck them. So now I'm just gonna take some of the best looking, fattest clams, and I'm gonna reserve them whole for garnish. The other ones that are sort of tiny, just gonna pick them out, put them onto the side of a bowl, and then toss the shells. Now between picking the clams out of the sauce and shucking the clam meat out of the shells, these pasta tongs are really clutch. And if you think they're snooty or high end, they're really just practical, especially in grabbing these little clams. And we're gonna take that clam liquor that's reserved, add that to the sauce, and then we're ready to proceed. I've got my squared spaghetti here, which I love. Cooks for 11 minutes, so I'm gonna cook it for 7 minutes in the water and then 4 minutes in the sauce. And I'm only gonna cook about a single portion, about 3 to 4 ounces. Now this recipe is designed for 2 portions, but I'm only gonna cook 1 portion of pasta today. The only adjustment I'd probably make if I was making this for 2 portions of pasta is adding more pasta water at the end to stretch the sauce. So in with the pasta, and again, we're gonna cook that for 7 minutes. And while that cooks, we're just gonna blend the Nduja breadcrumbs with a little bit of parsley. And then once we see that enough starch has formed at the top of the pasta water, we're gonna add a ladle full to the sauce and then puree it smooth with a hand blender right in the pot. You could throw it all in a blender and just blitz the whole thing, but I actually try to keep a little bit of texture into the sauce and just sort of emulsify the whole thing. And it should be on the looser side. That's intentional. Then we're gonna hit it with that cheek of lemon, and then I'm just gonna cook the pasta until it's flimsy, but still really al dente. I'm gonna finish cooking the pasta for the last like 4 to 6 minutes directly into that loose pasta sauce, and as it cooks, it's gonna thicken the sauce, it's gonna reduce and concentrate, and the sauce is really gonna start to wrap around the pasta. If at any point the pasta sauce reduces too much and the pasta is still not perfectly al dente, that's where the pasta water comes in. You add a little bit at a time to buy yourself more time to get that pasta perfectly cooked. And then just add a little bit of pasta water, but the idea here is that we're controlling the cooking of the pasta and we're pulling it when it's perfectly al dente without needing to drain a pot of water. Once we taste it and it's perfectly al dente, then we can finish the pasta. I think it needs just a touch more water. Then I'm gonna go in with about 2 tablespoons of cold butter, some fresh basil, and some chopped parsley for a little bright freshness. Then we're gonna add the shucked clam meat, and we're just gonna toss it all together. And if the pasta's al dente and the sauce has the perfect consistency, you should be in for perfection. Then we're gonna twirl it up, get it onto a plate. Add a little bit of sauce right on top of the pasta. Then we're gonna go in with those beautiful whole clams right on top of the pasta. A little bit of fresh parsley, some more fresh basil, and then we'll finish it with those Nduja breadcrumbs. And what you have is just such a beautiful, smoky, flavorful, spicy dish. The pasta's cooked perfectly. The whole clams with the breadcrumbs give a little bit of a baked clam vibe. It's got that seafood brininess from the clams. We barely added any salt, and there's plenty of salt. And the breadcrumbs are that nice finishing touch that just carries the flavor throughout. I love this pasta. It's addictively good. If you want the recipe, the link is gonna be down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself. I think it's time you might want to brush up on some Cacio E Pepe. I just made a new video teaching various methods on how to create the creamiest Cacio E Pepe that you've ever had. I guarantee it. Give it a shot, and thanks for watching.